What's up, folks? Welcome back to TacticalTortoise. My name is Trevi, and today we're going to be talking about something really cool that kind of stealthily happened over on Warhammer community today. So, previously this week, I talked about a tier list of all of these Space Marine chapters that have been showcased so far for 10th edition 40k, and I put at the top of that the lowly Deathwatch. Deathwatch had been struggling in 9th edition pretty hard. They're an infantry-focused chapter in a universe where vehicles and vehicle-focused chapters typically do much better, and they really struggled to keep up. While they did have some combinations that were extremely effective and difficult to stop, they didn't really have the consistency that other chapters had with strong secondary objective play and just good buffs for their basic weapons. It looked like that was changing, however, with the release of the 10th edition Index. That granted them the Hellfire Rounds stratagem, which granted anti-infantry 2+ and anti-monster 5+ to the ranged weapons of up to 2 units, assuming that you targeted 2 kill team units from the army. With kill teams able to take devastating wounds on basically every model in the unit, not only their long vigil ranged weapons, but also assault cannons on their up to 3 Terminators. That gave the ability to trigger 2+ mortal wounds to basically every model in the unit for almost every attack that they could make. So in that tier list, I put them right at the top of the list because this ability was incredibly strong and incredibly potentially oppressive, specifically those that were relying on heavy infantry. You can imagine units like Terminators that are relying on high toughness values and high saving throws running up the table and dominating the midboard, 2 Proteus kill teams just walking out with nothing but devastating wounds anti-infantry weapons, wounding them on a 2+ and converting those wounds directly into mortal wounds would absolutely rip through. And with the ability to gain sustained hits or use the stratagem on even more units by using Rites of Battle, this faction had the potential to get out of hand, specifically against those infantry and monsters. And with the fact that they were still a Space Marine chapter and could get Oaths of Moment on a bunch of big heavy anti-tank weapons on basically anything else in the army, that made them incredibly good against anti-tank as well. Now this prompted a lot of community backlash. A lot of people were worried about the combination of the anti-X effect, which converts your wound rolls on whatever target number the ability specifies directly into critical wounds, and combining that with the devastating wounds ability, which converts your critical wounds then into mortal wounds equal to the damage value of the attack. People were worried that the addition of these 2 abilities together is too oppressive in the game. And while it's a combination that's used very sparingly elsewhere, either on weapons that are kind of meant to dumpster a specific target profile, things like the Thunder Coil Harpoons in Chaos and Imperial Knights that are definitely supposed to one-shot enemy monsters and vehicles and combines the anti-effect with devastating wounds in order to be able to do that, or combi weapons that are kind of low ballistic skill but have a pretty good chance to convert themselves into mortal wounds against enemy infantry. Those are all good use cases for the combination of these abilities, but it was made clear that adding them together in a way that was originally unintended was too powerful. But Games Workshop responded basically almost instantaneously to that feedback. Earlier today, they released all of the rest of the indexes for the Imperium subfactions. So we got to take a look at Astra Militarum, Adeptus Mechanicus, Adeptus Errata'd, Adeptus Custodes, Grey Knights, Imperial Knights, and Agents of the Imperium all together. But at the end of that article on Warhammer Community, they actually specified that they had decided to re-release a Deathwatch index with new wording for the Hellfire Rounds stratagem, the stratagem that would grant anti-infantry to their Deathwatch infantry units. This made it so the stratagem no longer applies to weapons with the devastating wounds ability. A quick and easy fix to a combination that could have invalidated many unit types and archetypes within the metagame. Now, honestly, the abilities that we've gotten in 10th edition are kind of hit or miss. Some of the indexes seem incredibly good and some seem wildly underpowered, but the fact that they are a digital format gives Games Workshop the ability to hotfix these problems very quickly. And this is one of the reasons we've been calling for a digital format to Warhammer 40k's rules for years. And now we're seeing Games Workshop actually embrace their ability to fix any problems that arise during the design process and aren't caught by the playtest or development process. Once these rules come out and millions of people get access to them and can put the combined power of their brain together in order to suss out these problems and broken combinations, we no longer have to wait for months and months and months for Games Workshop to fix those and have a potentially wildly warped metagame, because they can just be repaired immediately. And this is absolutely rad. Now, there are other problems within the indexes so far. Some of the datasheets are clearly typoed and have problems with them. Space Wolves, I think, is the worst recipient of this. They have a ton of errors across their stat lines and profiles that really need to get repaired, and I hope that we see some iteration and bug fixing to these datasheets in the not too distant future. But honestly, the quick reaction time to the community backlash and their rapid fix to what was otherwise an incredibly broken combination is so heartening to me. And I really hope that the design team elects to embrace the benefits of this digital format moving on into the future. I think we could see 10th edition become the best edition of 40k that we ever have, assuming that Games Workshop decides to repair things with this alacrity. Especially given the fact that the design team has already committed to releasing quarterly points updates for the game as well. I do think that while on the whole the indexes do look a little bit rough from the get-go, and I think that there are some wild power imbalances between them, my hope is that this gets cleaned up pretty quickly, and that with the points document coming out later this week, and hopefully some very rapid changes to it once the game releases, in addition to getting regular points updates to the game in its entirety, I do have high hopes for the balance of 10th edition. Now, I know there are a couple other combinations within the game that I would like to see cleaned up. I know D-cannons have been spoken about, even to the point where some events have elected to potentially ban the play of Eldar in them entirely, even before the Eldar index becomes revealed. And I do think that the combination of devastating wounds, alongside the ability to automatically confirm critical wound rolls with the Strands of Fate dice mechanic, it could be potentially problematic, but we could see a quick fix to that datasheet, potentially removing devastating wounds from weapons like the D-cannon. And if we see that happen across the board with the power level of these datasheets smoothed over, I think it's going to be an incredible time for 40k. So let me know down in the comment section what you think about this quick hot fix to the Deathwatch index, and whether or not you think that we're going to see more rapid changes in the future to repair issues like this, and if there are any other interactions that you've noticed in the game that you do think require changes. Big thanks for watching all the way to the end of the video. Thanks as well to everybody who supports the channel, either over on Patreon, patreon.com/TacticalTortoise, YouTube channel members, and Twitch subscribers. All you people are great and I love you. Remember to keep it classy, folks, and have happy wargaming.